Everyone still sees it, right? Okay. So the first question I want to ask is like, what is programming and why do we do it? I just want to give like people 1 or 2 minutes to think about and answer this question. If you're, I'll have people speak up if they want to. Otherwise, you can just type in the chat. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know if I can view chat if I share this screen. I'm gonna stop sharing for a second. Okay, looks like no one's typed anything yet. Okay, I'll just wait if people want to type anything. Okay. Does anybody else have anything to say? No? Okay. I'll give my answer then. See, I believe programming is like, first of all, I like the definition of programming is like the process of creating a set of instructions that tell a computer how to perform a task. And I believe it's like a way of connecting humans with computers, because with programming, we can allow computers to do what humans do, but at a more efficient and accurate manner. Because like us humans, we can only do so much. We're like never actually like perfect, you know, but we can make computers perfect. So through like that computing power that computers possess, we can use it to our own advantage to like advance society, you know. So I just like wanted to ask this question so like I can give you guys a broader sense of what makes programming popular in today's world, and like relate what you're going to learn to how society incorporates the knowledge, you know. So if one of you ever like if all of you like want to like pursue computer science in the future, you could look back at like these classes you're learning now and be like, uh, well, it's not just about like learning a Java language. It's about like using what you learn and applying it to like more complex like computers and machines, and that gives you like a greater sense of accomplishment. If you guys know what I mean, it might be a bit overwhelming now, but it's sort of like the feeling I got when I created like the first app using Java. And yeah, um, so it looks like we're not having a lot of enthusiasm here, but hopefully we go into the Java language now, we can have more interest. So let me share the screen again with everybody. So can I ask if everybody's downloaded like the Eclipse on their computer yet? The JDK is like not that necessary, but I hope everyone's like been able to download the IDE, the Eclipse. Just um, tell me if you have in the chat. Like I don't know how to. I can't see the chat I'm sharing, so I guess I have to stop again. Can everyone just tell me if you downloaded the Eclipse or not? Because this is very important. I'm only having 2 participants right now. There's no way we can continue with this class if you don't have the Eclipse downloaded. People with their cameras not on, could you like somehow like communicate in the chat? Okay, got another response. I mean, still like 1 more person at least, or 2 more people. If you have any concerns or questions, just tell me. If you haven't downloaded it yet, please at least download it for next class. Today isn't that important if you have it or not, but yeah, we're gonna do some small exercises today, so yeah. So looks like there's no more responses, so let's continue again. Okay. So everybody sees my screen again, right? Okay. So let's just talk about the history of Java, just to like you guys an understanding of what you're about to learn. So Java was first developed by Sun Microsystems in 1991. And Sun Microsystems is like a company located in the Bay Area. So it's kind of like a factor in how like um, programming has like exploded in like the Bay Area. So like it was first initiated by James Gosling, who was a like a computer scientist at Sun Microsystems. And I'll tell you guys like a funny story. Like Java was first originally called like Oak because Gosling would see like an oak tree in his office all day long. But they later changed it to Java because there's some like copyright issues. And Java is actually like used from Java Coffee, which is kind of like a brand of coffee. So that's just like an interesting story. And Java was created to simplify and enhance C++, which was another programming language that existed before Java. And basically there was just frustrations about like syntax of C++, and there's some limitations to it as well that they feel like could have been incorporated in Java. So that's how Java was like created. And it took like several years to develop Java. Actually, it took like 5 years, and like until 1996 was the first public implementation. So yeah, it took a pretty long time, but it paid off because Java today is one of the most popular programming languages. So next slide, I'll talk about some like background info. So as I just said before, like Java is one of the most popular programming languages today, and this is in part because like of many factors. First of all, it's a standalone software application development programming language, which means that you can basically use Java by itself to write a complete whole program. You don't need like assistance from any plugins or browsers. Like you can just write everything with just Java by itself. It's object-oriented, so different languages have different ways they program things, but Java is an object-oriented programming, and object-oriented is actually like one of the most simple styles of programming. So that's like also an advantage of Java. Java has this famous slogan called "Write once and run anywhere," which pretty much means you only have to write the Java code once, and once you like compile it or like save it and like export it or something like that, you can run it like on any operating service, like a computer. Like you can run it on a Mac, you can run it on like a Windows, you can run it anywhere. You can also edit and create Java source files in any text editor, and you can also run Java from a command prompt or an IDE. So it's just like a lot of ways you can experiment with Java, and just makes it very versatile and it's very simple but robust. So that's why Java is so popular today. And obviously an example of an IDE is Eclipse, which we'll be using today. So now I'll be talking about object-oriented programming in general. So object-oriented programming is a type of programming based on the concept of classes and objects. So when we like instantiate a class, like we'll talk about what like instantiating means next lesson, but it's basically when we create an instance of a class, we create a new object that has like the characteristics of the class. So I like to compare this to like a description of like a noun using adjectives and verbs. So a class is sort of like a generalization of all the objects contained. So an example class would be like a car. So a car, there's so many types of cars, right? So an object of that class would be like a type of car, which would be like a Toyota. I don't know what your parents' cars are, but it could be a Toyota, a Lexus, Mercedes, like anything that's like falls under the category of a car would be an object. And you can describe an object using attributes and functions. So attributes are like physical qualities you can observe. So I would compare attributes to like adjectives, because let's say you want to describe a car using like its weight, its size, or its color. Like if you wrote that in English, it would be like this car is heavy, it's big, or it's gray, right? Those are all adjectives. Well, in Java, those would be called attributes, and um, those are like how you would like describe an object. Similar, you would have functions. Functions, I would like to compare them to like verbs. So let's say you see a car, and what is it doing? It can be turning, it can slow down, it can speed up, it can crash even, right? So those would be the verbs of what the car is doing. And functions act in the same manner. They basically um, tell you what the car, or like whatever the object is doing, or what you want it to do. So that's how it like classify attributes and functions. And those are like the primary things, elements that make up a whole program of an object. Yeah. So that was kind of a lot, but does does anyone have like any questions regarding that, regarding object-oriented programming, or like what I just said? You can speak out, or type it in the chat. And like if you want to speak, you don't have to raise your hand. You can just like unmute yourself if I give you like the opportunity to talk. So yeah. Let me just see if there's anyone in the chat who's saying anything. Does I'll give everyone like a minute or two to write any questions they have. Such an interactive lesson. No one's turning their cameras on. If nobody has any questions, then we can move on. Like I said, you don't have to fully understand everything, but I'm just giving like a brief overview of what you're going to be doing. So let me share again. Everyone sees my screen? Okay. So next I'll be talking about like how the Java process works. So this is like how does Java generate like an output? Like how does it like generate the program that's then used to like, incorporate computers, machines, that type of thing. So first of all, after like someone writes all the code, all the source code is actually like saved into a source file that has a .java extension at the end of it. And the file will contain a lot of readable command statements. The file will contain a lot of readable command statements that the Java compiler will understand. So you see the arrow from the editor to the Java compiler. So that's where the source code goes. Like the source code is the code you've written. So the source code goes into the Java compiler, and what the Java compiler does next is it translates the source code into machine code. Or machine code is pretty much like bytecode with a .class extension at the end. So it becomes .java and it becomes .class. And these kind of files can be readable by your computer, or like any operating service, like operating machine can read the .class extension or the bytecode. And then after that, the computer will input the bytecode into its Java runtime, which will then generate an output, and the output will be basically your program. So that's just the basic two-step process of how your code becomes usable, And let's move on. So this will be like the basic Java program structure that like this is like the simplest thing you'll see for a program. And my plan was to have everyone like first like list out like what they see, if you want to do that, but I just don't know if this class is responsive or not. I'll try it. Like, does anyone like see anything that's like familiar to you in this program so far?
No, not really.
Really? Just like, just any keywords, just nothing? Or just, if you just look at everything in nothing? Okay, maybe. Just like the first line, if you see there's a class word, we just talked about classes. So the class is, if you remember, like the generalization of all the objects that you have. So the class will pretty much be at the very top because it's where all your code wants to go into to describe the object. So the public you can disregard for now. We'll be talking about that next lesson, but the phrase my first Java is the name of the class, and a general naming convention for classes would be you have one phrase that is like made up of like a word or several words, and then all the words, the first letter will be capitalized. That's the general naming convention of a class. And then below, you're going to see this line called public static void main. That's an example of a method. So a method is a type of function, and in this case, this is a unique method. And we'll talk about that later, but just remember this is a method that's different from other methods. So what is one thing that stands out to you about like the formatting of this program? Do you guys see anything that's kind of like reoccurring? I mean, just like happens a lot. Like just like a symbol that happens a lot. You can you can talk about it, or you can just say your thoughts out loud. Um, okay then. So I hope everyone like notices these curly braces. Does everyone see them? Okay. Um, yeah, so there's a curly brace, there's an open brace after my first Java, and there's at the very bottom you see a closed brace. So those two are a pair. Anything that goes in between those two braces is part of the class. And the same thing goes for method. You see there's a curly brace, an open curly brace after the method declaration, after this the string args part, you see there's a curly brace. And below that, you also see another closed brace. So any code that goes in between those two braces is part of the method. And that's basically the structure you want to follow. All classes and methods will like, here's just the important part. So all Java classes and methods will begin and end with braces. It's basically like an organizational technique that the Java program employs. So you also see that there's like a small indent to the right. You see how like the method declaration is a bit to the right of the class one. So that's also part of the organization. And you can generally tell that two braces are a pair if they're like directly above and below each other. Like you see how the class one, there's one that's um, way to the left, and the bottom one is also in this like the same like line, vertical line. So that's how you can tell that they're like they're a pair. Is there any questions about this basic Java program structure? No? Okay. And okay, so you see like the main method here, the public static void main part, it's actually very important, so we're going to talk about this one next. So this method has many keywords to it. I'll just go through them really fast. So the public part is an access modifier. Just remember it's like usually goes at like the first thing that goes in front of a method or a class. You also saw it as like the public in front of the class. So we'll talk about this next time, but just remember it's like pretty much means it's a public method or it's a public class. The static means like dictionary definition, and pretty much in case you didn't know what it meant, it means it's like not dynamic or it doesn't change. So Java has a different definition, and we'll go over that. It has a similar, but it's like sort of different. So, but we'll go over that like next lesson. Void pretty much means the method will not return any data, which is also, we're going to go over that next lesson as well. And the main is the name of the method. So the main method will pretty much be inside the class that will be run directly by the user. So when you're running the program, you're going to be running the program in one of the classes, and we're going to be getting to that shortly. And in order to run the program in one class, you need the main method. That the main method has to exist in that class for you to run the program. And an important thing is that a Java program will not run if it doesn't contain this exact method. So when you're writing your code, always remember that you're going to need this method somewhere. So yeah. Does anyone have any questions on the main method? Let me just unshare for a second to see if there's any questions in the chat.
We can't really hear you, I don't think.
Are you serious? If you guys can't hear me, you should tell me earlier.
At least I can't hear you. Can anyone else hear him?
Let me see my audio settings. I mean, my speaker is always, it's to the max, so is there something wrong with your,
Oh, no, it's back.
do you hear me now?
Okay.
Okay. Does anyone have any, okay, if you didn't hear any of that, this meeting is recorded, so if you can always go back to it after you get the link to the meeting, so it's fine. But does anyone have any questions about what I just talked about? No? Okay then. I guess an exercise will help us more to understand what we're learning. So let me share my screen again. Everyone sees my screen, right? Hopefully. Okay. Can someone just like say yes or not? Because I don't know exactly.
Yeah, I can.
Okay, nice. Okay, so now let's talk about Java statements. So you have your methods and your classes, right? So any code that like goes inside those methods or classes for like will be Java statements. And the thing is, all statements must end with a semicolon. So like after you're done writing like one statement, like make sure to put a semicolon at the end. And once you put a semicolon, it's generally better to then go to the next line and write another statement, just for like organization conventions. So yeah. An example statement would be system.out.println, which is short for line. So this would be print line and hello world. And you see at the end of this statement, there's a semicolon. So that's just a small thing that you guys should all know. And right now we'll do a demonstration. So if everybody could open their IDE, their Eclipse IDE, because I think most of you guys said you guys could download it. So if you guys could open that up, I'll give you guys like 1 or 2 minutes. And like while you're doing that, I'll just explain what we're going to be doing. So we're going to be creating this simple program called Hello World, and it's like a program that all Java beginners will write, and I feel like it's suitable for everyone here as well. So I'll pull up my Eclipse as well, and if your Eclipse like resembles like something like resembles like my Eclipse, then give me like a yes or something. So okay. So does everyone see this? Please say something if you do. I can't see the chat, so does everybody see this?
All I see is blank.
Yeah. So there shouldn't be anything like here, like in your package explorer. Do you have like a package explorer tab? Um, does your screen look Like, does the background look like mine? Like, does it say like Eclipse workspace at the top? I could you? This is the frustrating part because like this is like very important to the lesson. If everyone can participate, please. Um, is this working for you guys or not? Could I get a response, please? Like, does this screen pop up? Like, don't disregard, like, don't look at all the like the projects I have here in the package explorer. Like, does this screen appear to you guys? Okay, I have one nod so far, and let me just check chat if okay. I have a thumbs up from Jonathan. Um, can everyone give me a wait? Can you just like type in the chat right now if you have it open? Because I just want to sure everyone. I want to make sure everyone's like included in this process. Um,
Wait, I closed it, have we?
um, did you say you closed it? Did you try opening it again? Um, I can't tell if everyone's doing it. Like, Megan and Carolyn and Reese, do you guys? Is it working for you guys? Because this is probably the most important part of this lesson. If you can't figure this part out, then all our other lessons are just this is not going to work.
It's working.
Okay. Is it working? Okay, great. Um, Carolyn and Megan, is this working for you guys as well? Like, did you? Can you? Can somebody like share their screen, please? Can you guys share your screens? Is it possible? Um, can like when you say it's working, it like resembles something like this, right? I need a response, everyone. Try and focus on the lesson, please. Um, okay then. I'll just I'll just start it then, and hopefully you guys can watch the recording and replicate what I'm doing. Um, so the first thing we need to do, like, can everyone see my screen at least? I wanna know. Okay, everyone can see my screen. Okay. So the first thing you want to do in Eclipse is you want to create a project. So a project, you want to right click on your package explorer. It should be blank for you guys, but right click, go to new, and then go to Java project. And then since this is your first project, we'll just call it like my first project. Okay? Everyone can try and replicate what I'm doing, or just do what I'm doing. And click Java SE12 and just click finish at the bottom. And you don't create this module info thing. So now in your package explorer, there should be this new folder called My First Project. You can ignore the system library part here, and go to the src, which is short for source. So right click on this src folder and then go to new and then go to class. So this is how you create your first class. Okay, so the project we're going to be doing is called Hello World. So let's just call our class Hello World. Remember the naming convention, hello, H should be capitalized, it should be one word, and the W should be capitalized in world, sorry. And something that's very neat about Eclipse is that you can actually use a method stub. There's these method stubs that are kind of like predefined for you guys. So if you see at this bottom, there's this public static void main. And does this remind you guys of anything we learned so far? Yeah, it's the main method. So you can check this, and if you click finish here, it'll generate a class and it generates the main method for you. So that's very nice, right? Just you don't have to worry about this part yet. We'll go over that next. And there we have it. This is the Hello World class with the main method. So I'll just go along. If you guys have any problems, let me know in the. You can just let me know out loud or type it in the chat. We're kind of like running low on time, so I'm gonna have to like just speed through this, and hopefully you guys can watch the recording and pick up on some of the stuff. So here, the Hello World program is pretty much just system.out.println and then quotes hello world and end your statement with a semicolon, because that's what we learned, right? And if you see this green like play button up here, do you see I'm hovering over this? Like if you press this button and you click OK for the save and launch, in the console, a hello world will generate. And this works because what this statement does is it asks the computer, or like the system, to print this this quote here, called this hello world. It's in Java, it's called a string, and we'll get to that next lesson, but just know that this statement prints the hello world quote in one line in your console here. So if you were able to replicate that, just give me like a yes or like a thumbs up in the Zoom. Did anybody get it to work? No? Maybe I went too fast, but I kind of want everybody to be able to do this, but I'll just go through it one more time then. So, desktop, here, workspace, you should see this again. Let me just do this again. So, go to right-click your package explorer, like the blank part, here, go to new, and then go to Java project. This is how you create the project. Name your thing my first project. I'll just do this because I already created one. But just don't change anything here. Like, do you guys have any issues with this part, or is it not working, or did you just was I just too fast? Can someone please speak out, please? Does this make sense to everybody? If you have something to say, please unmute in your Zoom. Okay, I'll just continue then. So you want to click Finish. Don't create this module info. go to your first project, right-click on this source. It should be highlighted on your screen. If you see on your Zoom, right-click it, go to New, and go to Class, and this will create your class. Your class, in the name, in here, type Hello World. Check this main method down here. If anyone's stuck on this step, I'll just leave it here for a couple seconds. Just make sure you type Hello World here and check this checkbox here. It's the only two things you have to do. Okay, I'll click Finish then for right now. That's a finish, and it should generate this in this window, in this tab. Does anybody have errors, or was this still too fast for you? Can someone just say something, please? I can't help you if you're not saying anything, you know? Or typing into chat, like, please do something. Like, this class isn't gonna be just me talking for 1 hour. Come on, it's not that scary. You can try to make this a friendly environment. Come on. Okay then, I'll complete the process again then. So here, under the main method statement, you should be typing system.out.println hello world. This is what you should be getting. And if you run it, does everyone like see this green play button here? Should be like green. Yeah. So if you click it and you have this stuff entered, the console below should generate hello world. Like, can someone just like tell me if you got that? Like, don't be afraid to like just speak. Or if there's any errors, just type it in the chat. Like, just let me know about how is it going. Like, you don't have to be too specific. Just tell me how's it going, like, where you are. Okay then, I guess. I mean, there's no responses. I have to assume everyone's successful. Okay then. Okay, this will all be recorded, so if you need like to see this again in the future, then the link will be provided like soon. So don't panic, don't panic. I'll move on then. We have to move on. We only have like about 10 minutes left, so yeah. So I'll share my slides again. So basically, this is what the program should have looked like for you. Just, yeah. So another thing I want to talk about is comments. So in this previous slide, you see these like double slashes followed by some like green text, right? Or like blue-green text. So these are actually called comments, and comments can help you to explain your own code and leave messages for yourself, and it can help other users that like hop onto your code to like understand your code better. And there's basically different kinds of comments. The first one is the double slash you saw here. These are only for single line comments. So if you're making any like short comments that's only like a few words long, use the double slash. Multi-line comments are generally for like longer comments. Multi-line comments, like, yeah. So the syntax for this is a slash followed by an asterisk. You write your comment, and then the end is an asterisk first followed by a slash second. And then you have Java.comments. So Java.comments are used basically at like the start of classes or at like the start of methods, and basically they tell you exactly what the class is doing or what the object is doing. So they're kind of like their sole purpose is like an advanced explanation of basically explaining the code for someone else. That's like what they're trying to, that's what you use Java.comments for. So yeah, and an important thing is comments will not execute commands. So if you write like a comment here, like the main method begins execution of Java application, this doesn't affect the code. So if you take out the double slash, however, there's going to be an error because the computer doesn't know what this means. If you put a comment, then the computer recognizes it as a comment, and then it won't do anything to the actual code. So that's one thing you should know about comments. Since we don't have much time today, I'll be skipping this one. It's also sort of complex for where everyone's right now, so yeah. So now I just want to end this class off with some math operators. So everyone here should be familiar with math, right? Like you should know how multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction works, right? Have you heard of the phrase PEMDAS? Yes? Okay. So, I mean, if you don't, I'll just explain it for you. It's basically the order of operations in which you have to solve an equation. So you're going to solve the parentheses first, and then you solve the exponents, and then you solve multiplication and division, and then addition and subtraction. What's neat is Java uses the same order of operations. So you can evaluate parentheses first, and then multiplication, division, and remainder. You know what remainder is, right? So if you divide like 7 divided by 2, you'll have a remainder of 1, right? Do you guys know what that means? Like 6 divided by 2 is 3 with a remainder of 0, right? But then 7 is not divisible by 2, so you get a remainder of 1. And yeah, so the Java uses also incorporates remainder, and the sign for that is a percent symbol. The multiplication sign is an asterisk, and the division sign is a slash. And then everything is followed by addition, which is a plus sign, and subtraction, which is a minus sign. And these are basically like the most simple, most basic math operators. There's also actually a math class in the Java library, and the math class contains more advanced mathematical functions than what the basic operators provide. So some examples of this are the math.abs function, which is short for absolute value. Do you guys know what absolute value is? It's like, do you know that like the absolute value of -5 is 5, right? It's just like the distance of -5 from 0. Okay. And math.min is short for minimum. Math.max is short for maximum. Like minimum is the smallest number in a set. Maximum is the largest number in a set. You have math.random, which generates a random number. You have math.pow, which helps you with exponent functions. Like, you know what an exponent is? Like 2 to the power of 2 is 4, because you do 2 times 2. And you got math.sqrt, which is short for square root. So what I want to do for these final few minutes is do a small exercise where you can write a program using math operators and functions from the math class. So I'm gonna go back to my Eclipse. and I'm going to share this with you guys again. So what I'm going to do right now is in this same project folder, I'm going to create another class. So I'm going to call this class, this is just for more like practice purposes. So remember, to create a class, go to source, right click, go to new, and then go to class. And since we're doing like a calculation for this one, I'm just going to call my class calculation. And check the main method here as well, and click finish. It's basically the same as what you did in the Hello World program. And we're going to do the same line of code, system.out.println. And instead of typing hello world this time, we're going to do like some basic math operation, like 5 plus 6 times 4, and then like do the remainder function. Actually, we're going to do parentheses, so this can be executed first. We're going to do remainder function, the mod function, and like 3, right? This error here, didn't type it correctly, and end it with a semicolon, right? So who can tell me what this will print out using your basic math skills? And this percent symbol is a remainder function. So can someone type in the chat what they think, or just like say it out loud what they think will happen in the console? Let me just does everyone remember? Okay, I'll just share it again. Can we get some participation, please? Does anybody know what this will generate? Okay, I'll just run everyone through it in case. I mean, if you got your answer, just please tell me. I don't want to make you guys feel bored if you guys already know it, but okay, so you're going to operate the stuff in parentheses first. So you're going to do 6 times 4, which is 24. You're going to add 5 to that, which is 29. And then you're going to mod 3, which is 29, the remainder of 29 divided by 3, which is 2, because 27 is divisible by 3, but you need 2 more to get to 29, right? So let's see if it's 2. And yes, it is 2. As you see, it prints in the console, it's 2. So we weren't able to get to you guys doing your own math functions today, so if you guys are able to, please practice using some of the operators and the functions I told you guys about in the math class. So I'll just do a short example. So instead of doing these operators here, I'll just do something like math.square root 81. So does everyone know what the square root of 81 is?
I believe it's 9.
Yeah. So if you run the program here, you'll get a 9.0 here. So we'll talk about why this is 9.0 next class, but just know the basic math operations and try and experiment with some of them. You'll see if you just type math here, math dot, you'll see a whole bunch of functions that appear, and just go through them and just see which ones you know about, and just practice using them. That's just basically my tips for what you should do at home. It shouldn't take that long, maybe 10 minutes of your day. So yeah. So it's 7:02 now, and I believe it's time that we have to end our class. So let me just. So I kind of just want to explain to you guys what we're going to learn next class. We're going to talk about we're going to go more in depth about classes, objects, and methods. and we're going to talk about how to write them. Like, how exactly do we define a class? How exactly do we define a method? And talk about like attributes. Like attributes in Java are also called fields because they're part of the class. They're like field variables of a class. And we're going to talk about how to define those as well. It's probably going to be someone different next week, so yeah, it's going to be someone else from our team that's going to be teaching the lesson next week. So I'll be sharing, I mean, probably not me, like someone will be sharing this recording with everybody, so you can like just rewatch it and just try and like replicate what I've done so far. And